Hello and welcome back. My name's Tris and this is Tris Paints. As you can see here, we have a bit of a beastie in front of me. It's a Gorkanaut. I've just built it up. I like to play the game, and the idea of having this as my transport as well as heavy hitting with this massive claw, lots of little shots. This gun here I thought would be really great. It's a fantastic model. Not super fun to build in some respects. There's like a lot more bits than I thought it would have, but fine. Once I've done one, I think I'll do another one. So yeah, I'm going to build this. I'm going to paint this model. I'm going to be painting it in the Evil Sun's kind of scheme, which is what I've been really enjoying. So that'll be our red colour. As for building it, I thought there's no point in sharing that. This will be like a little painting video. I'm doing this video for Kit. It's my friend Kit. He asked me about, stippling. And I thought, okay, fine, let's do some stippling. I'll work out if I want to do a gradation from bottom to top, or I'll build up from light colour going dark colour on the outside. I have a little think, but with the supervision of Rocket, he's asleep over here. He kind of likes to chill out here. I've got a cat called Rocket and a cat called Groot, so you'll see various cats here. I'm going to primer this brown. I'm using some of the Colour Forge cans for this one. I'm doing it brown because that's mainly the colour I have. I'd either be doing it purple, brown or black, but we're going to go for brown on this one, and that actually works really well when you're doing red. To build up from there, and you'll see what I do as I go along. So I'll primer this and then we'll come back. Okay, here it is. So it turns out I didn't have any brown. I only had black on me, which is fine. So I did this in not really sub-assemblies, but it's parts that I can slot it together afterwards with. What this means is I'll be able to paint the areas easier, like, work on here by hand. Obviously, you've got to be careful how I hold it. I didn't rub off any of the paint. The orc on the back of here, we're going to paint whilst he's mounted. Whereas at this orc that sits inside here, I'll be painting him, separately. So we give certain details. So it's quite an easy process what we're going to do. So I've got my wet palette right here. The thing with the wet palette is it's a tray, which I can put a lid over the top, which is, you see, like a really useful box that pops on here. Okay, this keeps the paint wet in between doing things, which is great because it means you can reuse paint. Then I've put some kitchen roll down, and then I soak it in some water. I've got a little water dispenser here, and I squirt that on, and then I put this is by Army Painter, their paper. I found some papers that I really like, and the Army Painter, well, the latest stuff seems pretty good. People say you can use baking tray paper, but I've tried that and it doesn't really sit nicely, but again, I'm no expert. It's kind of what I've found over time. The paints I'm going to use is, we're going to start with a Berserker Red on this one, and it will be stippling in our main coat of paint with this, but be very watered down. We're going to go back over and back over it, and then we're going to move on to, I think we'll use the Sanguine Scarlet, or I might decide, we'll see, because this is a bit too bright. I might mix with this one in with this one and then push it really quickly to this color. I don't know yet. I'm gonna say we're gonna take a jump, and then once that's done, I think we'll go to this orange in the middle of it just to give it a bit of a glow, and then I don't know, sometimes so I start adding that in to really kind of desaturate it, or we can like trade out and do it this way, and with this orange we kind of keep a bit of warmth in it. So we'll see where we get to, but what I do is get my paintbrushes and show you what we're going to do. So you've got options here. So I will probably do a bunch of it with this brush. This is an Artist Opus one, but you can use various brushes. So this is a makeup brush. This is a Kowalski the brush. Either way, it's a makeup brush. You can find these anywhere, but you can still do this with like one of the cheapest of the cheap brushes here. because you just need something that you can stipple with, putting the paint on. Stippling is kind of in the action, really. We're doing that with the paint, dabbing it on, almost like what you would do with a sponge. I'll be maybe using this larger one, but I'm not quite sure. So this one's got nicer bristles. This one's been used and worn down. So this one's got bigger bristles. And yeah, it's just really, I've got like my paint pot here. I've got various brushes, but I think we'll just go with probably these three that I have here. And we'll just go with the flow on that. And we'll talk about the process as you go. And yeah, exciting, right? I've got my dehumidifier on, not my dehumidifier, my humidifier, very contradictory. The humidifier, it just kind of keeps the paint a little bit more wet again. I've given my Berserker red by the Duncan Rhodes Two Thin Coats line. I like this colour, it's always it's like corn red if you don't have this. Or if you've got the P3 paints, Sanguine Shadow, but I find the Sanguine Shadows more purpley. So yes, if you don't have this, use corn red. And we're gonna use quite a lot there, so we can add to it. So don't worry about too much of a blob of what you got there. And I'm gonna just pop that in there. The only thing I don't like about a lot of these pots is the end gets covered, and when you're shaking it, it all fills up. So even if you clean this end, you know, you can't do much about that unless you're going to get loads of earbuds in and try and clean them. Obviously, you can give them a wipe. You know, come along with your tissue and give them a clean. But you will have issues where sometimes you can't get your lid off because it's all kind of caked in paint now. I've got one that's like that. But anyway, this has actually got a different lid on it from another range. I did it by accident. Okay, so I've got my tissue anyway. This is for dabbing off later. We've got our paint on there. So what we want to do is, with stippling, we're not dry brushing or anything like that, even though you're using a dry brush. I've got my pot of water here. I'm going to get my brush nice and wet. And I'm probably not going to mix using this one. So we get a normal brush, and I've got an old Citadel brush here. And I use that for doing my mixing. So I'm going to almost make it, well, I say 2 parts equal, but I always hear that on painting videos, and I can't even see the water once it's on there. But basically, you see mixing it here, it's going very runny very quickly. Yeah, this is going all over the place, isn't it? So it's quite watery. I think this will be right. The idea is when we're watering it down, when we put the paint on, it doesn't go on like massively opaque, because we don't want like obvious splodges on there. So give the brush clean off. Don't be afraid to spend extra time cleaning your brush. Basically, I give it, obviously, giving a good rinse in here. And then I kind of just angle the brush a little bit. I don't want to break all the bristles off though, but you can see where paint is coming out. So I can come back later because I'm going to use this again for mixing. And get some shampoo or something on it. We'll start on one of the smaller parts. So we've got the arm here with a really cool looking gun on it. And I've made an absolute mess here. I've gone a bit too wild here, but I don't want to have too much water on here, but you want wet bristles so then it carries the paint in a nicer way. So we're going to pick up the paint and we just dab it so we can get a feel for how much is coming off when we do it. Start at the top. We're going to put our paint on, and actually it's quite thin here, but that's fine. Don't worry about getting paint on other things. I'm personally not worried. So if you're not worried, then great. What I did do when I was doing this armour, I used some, basically the plastic glue, and made some sprue glue out of it. I used the Tamiya cement stuff. And the benefit of doing this is I could then kind of stipple that glue on and add a texture. So we have extra texture, even though we're going to be adding texture in with the brush. So I'm actually gonna, even though I feel like I shouldn't, I'm gonna paint this. I'm gonna feel like the orcs didn't care the fact that it's gonna get hot and that they would left it metal. So we're gonna come around here, but I can always paint it later if I'm unhappy with that. The fireworks are going off, so you'll hear some of them in the background. One thing you don't want to do when you're doing the stippling, I'm gonna flick to the other camera view. When you're doing stippling, don't go back over the same bit, because you're going to pull off drying paint. It's kind of like watching custard dry and then start touching the top, and then, you know, there's that layer on top which isn't going to be appreciating you and your eagerness to touch it, because it's going to just tear and it's not going to be nice. So there's some bits that you think, oh, well, that would just be a metal colour. So, well, just do what you like, really. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy. If like you want something to be a certain colour, just paint it that colour. Honestly, I really don't worry anymore. So we've got this band that's going around here where ammunition would come out. Well, spent ammo, I guess. And we're just gonna splodging onto here. And what you'll find is this will dry very dark, which is exactly what we want, because we want to build up the colour tone. So I'm trying to work out, what do I want to do? Because do I want to have it where I start dark and I go to lighter colour here? Or do I start dark here and go to there? I think I like the idea of things at the top. So for example, on this body, it'll be dark here, it'll be light here, it'll be dark here, it'll be light here. Same as all these parts. On the top, I'm not sure. Obviously you can't see the top on the camera, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, so we've done this, done the base bits here. What else do I want to do? Really, the main thing that the orc would have is his shoulder pad, because it's like the evil sons type thing. I'll probably do his hat as well, his helmet. He's like, it's not a hat. All right, calm down. So we do that, splodge it in. And that's the nice thing with stippling. You can apply this to a lot of armour, and it's super easy to do. The beauty of it, because you stipple it in, you have let's say a uniform texture that goes on here, which is quite hard to manually kind of paint in with the brush. We've got a little orc in here. He doesn't need anything there. As for the little rockets, I think I'll paint like those bits yellow, and then leave the rest of it metal. Got some red on there from when I was spraying it. And then we got the head here. I'll just go for the whole thing. So you might be saying, well, if you're going to be making it lighter at the top, why are you putting the dark bits at the top? Why can't you just go with yellow? Well, the yellow or orange or whatever won't cover too well. And also, we don't want to have like the other colours absent when we're doing it. So it's nice to have it where you'll see little bits of dark red amongst the yellow and everything. And it will just give it, I feel like, a good bit of depth when you glance at it. It's not obvious what you're looking at, you know, there's a good amount of colour going on. So the other benefit of the stippling is it will be leaving darker black bits behind, which we also want to, again, give it lots of colour variation, but still look nice. Well, that's the hope anyway. Whenever I do these kind of projects, it's, you just go with the flow, really. So yeah, don't overthink it and enjoy it. That's the main thing with all of this. A lot of the time we overthink it and then we don't end up doing it. I will do all this colour on the body as well, and then we'll come back to do the next stage. So I've done the stippling in the darker colour. I was thinking about doing a second layer in more denser areas, but I want to see how quickly we can jump to it. So we've got our P3 paint. So this one's called Candle Red. I really like it, but it does get a bit glossy when you use it. But I will be putting a coat of matte varnish over the model afterwards, just to bring everything back to the same shine. So I'm going to add a little bit of this back in. It looks like there's loads on here, but that actually isn't. I used most of it when doing this little job. And then I'm going to put a larger amount of this on, which is our Candle Red. I said Candle Red before, didn't I? So get my brush, bit of water. We're gonna mix them together, and to be honest, I don't worry too much about how I do it, as long as it's kind of brighter to a certain point. Like, there's a lot of saturation of that lighter red going in. It looks more creamy, doesn't it? But we don't want to have it that thick, so we want to thin it down. If you want, you can just use some like Lamy and medium if you want to keep a bit of body to it. I always find the medium means the paint doesn't get too thin, but I'm actually quite right just watering it down. Keep going. If you're too thick with it, what you find is that the paint will just be so opaque on there, and like, well, that's not going to blend out very nice. But I wouldn't worry about it, because you can Just keep going back and forth with the dark colours and the light colours. And that's all that the stippling is when you want to create a nice gradient. So what we do is we'll move to this door here. And on this door, hold it hopefully in a nice way. So we're going to pick up a bit of paint. I'm just going to dab that off. And we'll have a little go. So I'm just going to start around this middle point here, but we will do little splotches into there when we start running out of paint. So I'm just going to do this. Don't worry about it too much. Just be like a random splodges, just working on the area. The main thing is not to overthink too much. So what I want to do, because the dark colour will show through, do a couple little dots down here. Don't do it at the beginning of it because you've got more paint on the brush. Work your way up. Again, try and avoid going over the same bits again. You'll get close. It will just pull the paint off, like I said before. So that's all we're going to do there. We'll do the top of the door. What I'll probably do is do more of a majority up at the top. And just a couple little splodges there. And then we can come back. So again, I've got our middle points here. We basically want to have it so when you're looking at it on the tabletop, if you're playing the game, or even if it's on the shelf waiting for you to corporate it, you want like certain bits to be accentuated, so it'd be like the tops of the armor panels will show up. And a lot of the time you'll be surprised at actually how little work like it takes to make a model look nice. Sometimes we get a bit wrapped up in certain things that make the model like look how we think it should look, you know, if someone else is looking at it. A lot of the time we just want to paint it the basic colours, you know, and this, I know it looks like, oh, they must take ages, but it's not taking me long to stipple in all these bits here. Obviously I'm doing it live here. I thought I'd do it a bit more for you to see, so you can see my process, because yeah, I just like doing this, and you just got to trust the process as well. So yeah, just keep going. I'll do the whole of this model and the arm and the head and stuff like that, and then I'll go on to the next stage. So this is the stage I've got to now. It still doesn't look like a lot, but you can see that there is a gradation from the black, which has gone more like a brownish colour, which is why I originally wanted to prime it brown. And then we work our way up, and what you do is you go back over once it's dry with the red, but watered down still. We don't want to kind of undo any good work done here. So we kind of, you could effectively start here, then build to here, then build to here, build to here if you want. But either way, one way or another, you kind of build up that opacity of the paint here. You can see here on the shoulder pad, I've done the same here. So I kept going back in over the top, and then I'd work a little bit back down. A bit of water there. Yeah, so that's that stage. So now I'm going to go just neat cut of red, and I'll show you that quickly, and then we'll start adding in the orange, which will actually really make it pop. So I've done this, you can see it's popping even more. Really pleased with it. So if you look at the weapon, it's kind of got all that texture that I did from the gluing as well as the stippling. I kind of like that, especially with an orc model. Head isn't popping too much at the moment, but now we're going to move to the Inferno Orange. It's on the P3 paint range, just like the Kadar Red. It should work with that. So what I've actually done is I've popped some on the palette. I've got the darker shade, and then I'm going to work my way to the light shade. So I'm going to repeat this process and do less and less of the area with the light shade. So the orange, the neat orange, will be more up here, whereas the other one will be from about here and up. And I don't know, this is why I start getting really into it and really excited about it. So we'll go pick up our orange with the red. We'll just touch it in here, and you'll think, oh, that's quite bright. But when this dries, the beauty of the P3 paints is it's not that opaque. You'll see a lot of the colour from underneath going through. Again, we're just going to work at the top of the teeth, work around there. Like that. And how I'm showing it to you at the speed that I'm doing it, that's how I do all of this with the stippling. Stippling's really fun because if you're slightly impatient and you like using like contrast paints and things and want to get something happening kind of quickly, it's a really good technique to pick up and enjoy. And you can apply it to so many of your models. You could paint your whole army this way. I absolutely love doing it. When I have time, I do glazing, but this is like stippling glazing, you know, because it's such thin paint. You're putting glazed, stippled bits on, you know, they don't completely cover the previous coat. It's like a filter. You stippled a filter over the top. The beauty is we get to add a, you know, those lighter filters, and it just looks really nice. Again, this process, we're just tapping through, working our way, and you could do this with any color, you know. And I will do more of these. Obviously Kit asked me about this. I know people will be asking me, what about blue, what about the other colors? It's exactly the same process. I just love red, and because I love red, I decided I'll go Evil Sons with my Orc army that I've been playing, and that's kind of where I've kind of got to. So you can see here I've got my gradient from dark to light here, and you just do what feels about right. You can always always go back, and like this guy on here, we'll just come in here and we'll just work our way into the top. And don't worry if you touch other bits, it's not really going to sharpen a way that will upset you. So we've got orange in here, and it's not our neat orange, remember. We can come in a bit more, and that's when it will really start looking, well, for me, it'll be looking great. Like for this, I'm going to be focusing more of the center of that collar. And like these doors, I've been building up the gradient there, so we're just going to bring it up to the top there. And that's all you have to do, you know, and work your way through. So whatever model this is, you can do this. If it's a Storm Raven gunship, it's a Titan, you could do all this. You just need a larger brush. You know, I've done my knights that I have in this. You would have seen it on the last video, my knight in it, and I stippled using this process. And yeah, it's actually really enjoyable as well. So I'll come back to you when I've done the 2 oranges, and we'll talk about, would we push this any further. That's the orange done, well, both oranges. Really happy with how it's coming on, and this is where I get to have the real fun, when we start adding in the yellow. And I think the yellow that I'll use, I was thinking about using some of, dropped some paint on the floor, the Rogue Hobbies bismuth yellow, just to really make it pop. I don't know if it's too much, but we can always knock it back if we have to with a kind of orangey glaze over the top. But yeah, let's try that. I've mixed up a bit of the orange with it, and only a tiny bit of orange with it here, so it's not as bright. So if we look at this arm that we got here, hopefully that stays in focus. I'm going to dob onto here. I'm just going to keep bringing it up so we've got a really good gradient. The one thing with like gradients, you don't have to worry too much like with, oh, have I got the right colours? You can kind of create any, well, I don't know, I'd have to try it, any gradient, because you're building it up in layers. You're not trying to mix it at the time to build out the gradient. So you create a colour that's in between two. You know, you could make a really horrible one if you want to. But it's one thing that Kit asked me about, you know, about different colours and how to do that. So maybe I do a video on, you know, building up the gradients. A lot of things I've learnt from watching, we got Louise from Rogue Hobbies, as well as Squidmar. They're like my 2 favourite ones who are learning how to paint, as well as various books and things. So maybe that's another episode to talk about, and just doing things. I don't regard myself as a high-level painter or anything like that, but I can normally get some bits done, and my friends ask me how I do something. It's the whole point of the channel. So if you want to see more stuff, and there's stuff you're interested, just ask, and I can do a little video on, even if I don't know how to do it, we could have a go together. I'm always up for having a go. I enjoy painting. So as you can see here, this is going to look fantastic. Well, I think it's going to look fantastic. So I think for the video, we'll just do the stippling for this, and then I'll basically do the other bits and show you it done, because it'd be nice to put the picture of it up on the thumbnail, it looking just pretty smart. But I think you're getting the gist of what I'm doing here. You know, you can keep going until we get to white if you really want to, though I don't think white will work so well. But no, let me know what you think, you know. What are you painting at the moment? What don't you want to paint at the moment? Yeah, I'll get this done. I will go to that neater yellow and then maybe even a bit of neat yellow. I'm going to see how it looks. And then we can make a decision on, is that where we stop? And then, yeah, it's so much fun, right? Now this is with the 2 oranges that I mixed, and then I went to a neat yellow. I'm really happy with how it's coming out. Like, that absolutely pops. Got the gun. And from a distance, once this is all together, it will look great, especially after I coat a matte varnish on it to get rid of any sheen. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the tiniest amount of ice yellow at the highest points of the stippling. And then the next shots you're going to see of it, it will be completely painted. I've put about 10 hours into this and I am very happy with it. Of course, there's loads of things I could change. What would I do? It's like I could do a bit more panel lining around here, but on a glance, I think it looks great. Painted the cool little orcs. This guy's looking out, ready to fire his rockets. This guy's got the gun, he's shooting it. I should have put like a thing on here so then he looks at a monitor, but I'm like, fine. We've done the base. I've got some like kind of Martian type scenery, but with some green bits growing on top. We've got the spikes coming out of it that we've painted up. All the metal bits are painted. We've got this bit, which you don't want to get your finger stuck in. Really, really happy with it. Obviously, we could have a closer look if you like. We'll flick it to a better view. See if that's a better view. But anyway, put some transfers on. My friend Alan encouraged me to put transfers on. I was like, fine. The other cool thing is you can fit a model in here so you can remember what's inside. And the orcs is in there. Yeah, no, really, really pleased. Got a transfer one there as well. We've painted up where you've got the actuators, the unit that holds like the gas vessel bit, that's in like bronze colour. Which I then put an Agrex Earth shade on. Then I use some chromey colours, put a wash on and put a bit of chrome back on. Yeah, absolutely love doing this. Taking a little bit of time, but it looks awesome. Well, I think it looks awesome anyway. Hopefully you've kind of got some inspiration from it. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And these videos that I'll be doing are really things that I either do for myself or do for my friends. So I might not necessarily be following on-trend topics, but basically as I'm painting something, I will share it. And this is basically me showing you how stippling can make your models really pop. So pop back in this view. Ooh, a little stand hobbling around. Yeah, it looks awesome. I'm super happy with it. Can't wait to use this gun. It shoots 20 shots with rapid fire 10, so 30 orc shots, but hitting on 5s. Nothing wildly good about that, but if I put a mech with him, I'll be +1 to hit, so I'll be hitting on 4s. So we can do something with that, can't we? And he'll just be a good melee threat with his massive claw. It's pretty big. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you love what you see. And hopefully this helps you on your painting journey. This has required no airbrushes or anything like that. It's been purely one brush, well, pretty much one brush to cover this with all the different colours, and then use the smaller brushes to do the details afterwards. Take care and see you next time. Bye bye.